Sankhya, it is said that there is Purush and Prakriti. And when we talk about Prakriti, it is made up of three gunas, Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. And no creation is possible without any one of them. Whatever that we see, there is a combination of all of these three gunas into it. Of course, Sankhya had found this a long time back, but even when we look at modern science today, and it talks about proton, neutron, and electron, it's the same thing. Proton is the Rajas, neutron is the Sattva, and electron is the Tamas. And if you will look at the definitions, how these three elements are defined, and if you will look at the three gunas of Rajas, Sattva, and Tamas, it is the same. So, what is Rajas? Rajas is movement, activity. It is about running towards results. All the activity that we see, it is based on the Rajas gun. And the best way to remember Rajas is to remember a small child. Think of a small child. You see how much energy small children have? Running, playing, dancing, they can do that from morning till night, not get tired. The parents get tired, but they don't. So what is that? That means there is a dominance of Rajas gun over there. The creation, see, birth is the result of Rajas. That is where it takes place. When we talk about tamas, tamas is inertia, inactivity, laziness. It is the arresting of activity. And tamas is very important. See, whenever you need to sleep, that means that tamas has now taken over. Otherwise, you will not be able to sleep. And there are a lot of people we know who have difficulty sleeping. It's because the tamas is not enough there. So tamas is also very important. Even if we are driving a car, see, we don't only need the accelerator. We also need the brakes. Otherwise, how are we going to stop the car? And then when we think of tamas, of course, there are negative things associated with it as well. And we can think of an old person. Death is also associated with tamas. See, old people will have less energy. So that means now the tamas is taking over. And when the death happens, that means in that body, the tamas is dominating it to an extent where then the rajas and the sattva have decreased, that now the body needs to go. And sattva, the third element, and what we call as neutron in science, is the balancing factor. Sattva balances both of them. And it is sattva which brings positivity. It brings peace, joy, devotion, simplicity, harmony. Because the moment there is balance, then all these qualities come up. And that is what the sattva is doing. When we think of sattva, we think of people like Buddha, right? And sattva is also very important because sattva is the one which will give rise to buddhatva. When we talk about buddhatva, it does not mean Gautam Buddha. It means the capacity for realization that only comes through sattva. But sattva can also be a binding factor because sattva brings so much peace and happiness and joy that one can just get stuck over there. See, these are the three gunas of nature. But although sattva is very important, it is what will balance your life. Some people, and especially of course, we are talking about those whom we call sadhus, they can get stuck over there. So the buddhatva is, or becoming a Buddha is, going beyond all these three. In Hindi, we say it is gunatit. That means without the three qualities. Quality less. It is a quality less state. So this is just the basics on the three gunas. Now coming to the question, and I really like this question. How do these three gunas play their role in death and other misfortune for which individuals are absolutely not responsible? For example, accidents and epidemics. Now I'm going to answer this question from two perspectives. And the first perspective, of course, is going to be the non-dual perspective. Okay? So let's try to understand that. See, from a non-dual perspective, it is just a play of three, what is, and then it is just the play of these three gunas, these three qualities, and the nature is playing it. Okay? You or person, the problem is we think we have a role to play over here. But from a non-dual perspective, you have no role to play. The ego is just coming in between. Creation, sustenance, and destruction. That is the quality of the nature, and it is happening. And let's try to understand it in a little more detail. Okay. Now, when you say that I prefer the taste of mango to the taste of banana, very simple example. And I'm sure many of us do that, right? We have preference for a certain food and we have a dislike for a certain food. You think you like mango, you have chosen mango over banana. If I'm going to offer you two fruits and you choose mango, the ego comes in and says, I have chosen the mango fruit. But from a non-dual perspective, it is not that you have chosen. Okay? How have you chosen? If we go a little deeper into it, you have tasted mango, of course, and you have tasted banana, and your tongue, it is your tongue that has preferred the mango taste. So, your tongue has a combination of sattva, rajas, and tamas in a particular way. There can be infinite combinations of these three gunas. Okay? So there is a particular combination in your tongue and there is a particular combination in the mango. And your tongue prefers the mango. And there will be other people who will have a tongue which will prefer the banana. It's as simple as that. So don't think I like mango. No, it is just gunas which are playing the role. Okay. We'll take one more example. Right now, all of us are attending this satsang, right? We could have also gone to a disco. We could have been having dinner out, maybe partying somewhere. We could have been whatever. There are so many things we could have been doing. But we are sitting here and doing a satsang. We are participating in a satsang. And if we think that we have chosen to be part of this satsang, then it's possibly, again, from a non-dual perspective, you have not chosen. You have a preference for certain kind of conversations. You, in the sense, the mind, because of the combination of the three gunas, and clearly if people are attending satsang, that means the sattva gun is dominant over here. Rajeshwari is saying we are having party here. Yes, absolutely. So why for us satsang is a party? Because here the way the gunas are playing in my mind, in this particular mind, it is attracted to certain kinds of conversations, certain kinds of people, and so that is why we are over here. Okay, so there is nothing we are choosing over here. There is one more thing. You would have seen, like, even when Krishna was there or Gautam Buddha was there, did everybody recognize who they were? Not everybody. There were also people who didn't like them. So how is that possible? Sometimes we wonder, how come they did not recognize? Like, how come Duryodhan did not recognize Krishna? And how come there were people who were against Gautam Buddha? How is that possible? Well, now we understand. We can understand through this example that it is because if people had very high tamas or very high rajasic in them, they will never be attracted to a Buddha or to a Krishna. That is the way the elements work. Because Buddha is full of sattva. Of course, Buddha is qualityless. He has gone beyond the three elements. That is a different thing. But in the form, what they are seeing, what others are seeing, is the dominance of sattva. And a rajasic or a tamasic person will never be attracted to a sattvic person. And a rajasic especially will say, okay, what is this Buddha doing sitting quietly? Why is he not doing something? He should be, why is he not earning money? Why is he not going and doing something, right? They're activity based. So everybody does not recognize that. So when we look at it from this perspective, and if I answer that question, then whether it is death, whether it is accident, whether it is epidemic, it is just happening. It is all part of the nature. There is nobody who is doing it. There is no doer over here. And I would also like to share the story. I really like this story. There was this Zen master, Rinzai. I think most of you would have heard about him. And one day he was walking through a village, and there was one person who did not like him, and he came running with a stick, and he came and hit. It was a kind of a tree branch, okay, like a wooden stick from a tree, and he came and hit him. And Rinjai just looked at him and just kept quiet. And that person went away. Now, there was another person who was watching this whole scenario. And he said, "Why didn't you say anything to him? Why did you just keep quiet? What kind of a person are you?" So Rinjai said, he said, a couple of months back, I was sleeping under a tree and one branch of a tree fell over me. I did not say anything to the tree. So this person said, "What a stupid man you are. How can you say things to a tree? Of course, you didn't say things to a tree, but this was a man and he was doing this, he was hitting you." He says, "See, when the branch fell over me, the tree branch, that is what? Nature, right? Would we go and hit the tree? No, it is nature, we accept. But even what this man did and came and hit me, this is also nature. So how can I hit him? How can I say something to him when I haven't said anything to the tree?" It's, yes, for regular people, it's very difficult to understand. I'm sure here in this satsang, people will understand what he's saying. So he's saying it is all nature. Even what the human is doing is nature. So what's the big problem over here? So if we look at it from that perspective again, when the epidemics are there, when the accidents are there, it is just the natural elements. It is nature playing. What's the problem over there? Let nature play, let nature do whatever it wants to do. And that is what Rinjai can do. So this is from the non-dual perspective. Now let us look at, but that is again, something very rare. Not everybody can do that. So let us now come to the dual perspectives. Let us look at it from the second perspective. In the second perspective, clearly, the tamas and the rajas are very high. If there are accidents, if there are epidemics, definitely they are very, very high. That means the balance is not there. And we can also look at it from this way. Last time when I told this story of the Russian character who was who got so much influenced by what this woman was doing, and he was thinking every day that he should go and kill her. So what has happened? That tamasic, rajasic activity kept on going in the mind, and he lost that balance. Now look at it. Here he thought of it and did that. But there is also a possibility that maybe he had another friend. Okay, I just want you to imagine. He has a friend. And every day he tells his friend the same thing. Somebody should go and kill that woman. Somebody should go and kill that woman. She is very bad. She is very cruel. And what will happen? Maybe this person will not do it, but the other person will go ahead and do it. So, and I'm sure all of us will be able to relate to this example, not from a murder perspective, but there are situations when somebody comes to us and influences us about a third person or something, that they are very bad or something, and we do get influenced, and we do how we behave with that third person sometimes does get influenced by what this person had told us, and it is happening all the time. This is at a very small scale, but at a very large scale. So epidemics and accident mean that some way or the other there is an imbalance of these gunas majorly in a lot of people. Okay, that means a lot of people are imbalanced. That is what leads to these epidemics. And for that imbalance to happen, it is not only those who are doing the action. Like when we look at one person and say he has murdered, or he has raped, or he has created this disease, or he's doing that, or some people are doing that. It's not only them. Everyone who has thought of it as well. Everyone, whenever we are thinking negatively, whenever we are getting influenced by our tamas or rajas, we are equally responsible. We are adding on to it. And we also understand there is something called a universal memory, or a big, the chit, which is common. So somewhere that is getting passed on. And then when we look at this dual perspective where we live, what do we learn? That it is very important to again increase the sattva element in you. Very, very important. And those who can go beyond the sattva, then definitely you become qualityless. I want to share with you, the story of Buddha's death. Maybe most of you know over here, and it will further clarify the point that I'm trying to make over here. On the last day, the day Buddha left his body, he had been invited by an old and poor villager for a meal. And he was so poor, and the region where he used to live in, actually, there used to be a lot of mushrooms. There was a lot of mushrooms were growing. And these poor people, what they used to do, they used to dry those mushrooms, and because they were just growing anywhere all over, available for free, and they would bring and keep them, dry them and keep them. So when Buddha went to have food at this person's house, he also had a few dried mushrooms with him, and he made he made the food with that, and he served Buddha. And you would know that mushrooms, many of the mushrooms are very poisonous. Okay, and that day, the food that he served, those mushrooms were poisonous. And when Buddha started eating that meal, and the first bite he took, he realized that they were very bitter, and he could see that they were poisonous. But then he looked at the host, this poor man. He had tears in his eyes. I mean, he could not believe that Buddha had accepted his invitation and he was eating in his house. He was full of joy. So Buddha didn't want to tell him that the mushrooms are bitter over here. And Buddha just kept on eating the food. He finished the food, said bye to this person, came back, and the moment he came back, he fainted. And his doctors were called, and they checked, and they said there is no chance for him to live because the mushrooms were really poisonous. They have spread all over his body. It's very difficult. And that is the night when Buddha passed away. But before he passed away, his disciples asked him, why did you eat that? If you had realized that they were bitter, why did you eat? So he said, see, there was nothing wrong there. It was just nature playing over there. I saw this person who's full of joy, okay, which is again nature. I saw the mushrooms which were bitter and which were poisonous, which is again the quality of the nature. And I was watching this whole thing. And I was seeing, okay, for this body is also made up of nature and it has to die. Nobody can, save it. Today or tomorrow it is going to die. So how does it matter? Let it be. So I just kept on watching the joy of the host, the poisonous mushrooms, and this body getting affected by the poison. There is no problem at all. And then, next thing what he said, he told his devotees, he said, please go to that village, okay, and announce and tell everyone that this person who fed me the last meal is a very pious soul. He is extremely fortunate. He is a very nice and good person. Buddha has said this. Now the disciples, of course, went away. And then, Buddha's closest disciple, Anand, he was with Buddha and he was not convinced. So he asked Buddha, he said, why are you saying that? What are you doing? He's a murderer, that person. He has served you poisonous mushrooms. So he says, see, that is the thing. What has happened is nature. But now what will happen, if I do not do this, if we do not tell this to the people, there is a very high possibility that there will be a war, there will be a riot, people will go and kill him, they may burn his house, they may burn his family, and it will lead to a number of events, you can imagine. And you can relate this to how riots happen, how wars happen. A war has started just today, right? So, what is Buddha doing? He's watching this whole show happening and he's putting a stop to it right away. That is what he can do. But, of course, 99% of the people cannot do this. And that is why what we see are accidents, what we see are epidemics, what we are seeing is a war. So that is from a dual perspective. So what is our role? What does it come to? Simple, increase your sattva element. And we have already discussed and shared, how do you increase that sattva element? By reducing rajasic and tamasic things, and through food, through right company, through right literature, through right works. That is how you improve the sattva element in you. And when you see the play of tamas and rajas, there are so many things which come to us, and then do we stop them over there? Do we just put a full stop, or do we take them forward? Do we carry them over? Like somebody comes and tells you something negative, do you just put a full stop over there, or do you also go and talk about this negativity to another person? Even these simple things. Somebody says a bad thing and you spread it, or do you just close the chapter over there? So we are all participating in that. And once you become a witness, that you will see, and that will happen naturally. It will come and it will go away. That is what that happens. And there is one more thing I want to add over here. As I said, depending on what gunas, what qualities are present in you, that is how you get attracted to different people. That is how we are in satsang today. And that is how, of course, here nobody needs to know this, but I'm still saying that is how you also choose your guru. So, some people who say, oh, I got stuck with a wrong guru. So, see, you don't get stuck. Why did you get attracted to a wrong guru or guru who later cheated you? Is because at that point of time, those were the elements which are dominant in you. Maybe Rajas was dominant in you. Maybe Tamas was dominant in you. And we've seen of many, like Tamas, there is a high possibility. Some gurus will tell you, oh, come to us and, we will just give you something and we will give you a mantra and everything will go away. Within, 3 days, Kundalini Jagran will happen. We will just give you a hug and all your problems will solve. Now, what kind of a sadhak will get attracted over there? Who's high in tamas, who's lazy, who doesn't want to do any work. Naturally, you will get attracted to those kinds of gurus, no? So, whenever anything is happening, either we are getting attracted, whether we are choosing, we think we are doing that, it's actually the play of the gunas.